You can't go anywhere online these days without hearing about AI agents, right? They're supposed to automate everything, skyrocket our productivity, basically change the world. And the potential is absolutely massive. But here's the thing. As we all race to build these incredible tools, we might be missing the single most important piece of the puzzle. Because it turns out, the hardest part isn't the code.
And boom, there it is. That's the core of what we're talking about today. Anybody can stitch together a few APIs and call it an agent. But can you actually trust it? I mean, really trust it, to handle important stuff for your business without someone having to watch its every move? That's the real challenge.
So, our jumping off point for this whole conversation is this really fantastic white paper from Stack AI. It's packed with over 65 different use cases for agents in the enterprise. We're talking finance, insurance, you name it. It's an awesome look at what's possible, and it's the perfect place for us to start.
Now, first things first, let's give credit where it's due. This paper does a phenomenal job showing the real promise of AI agents when you apply them thoughtfully. There's a lot in here to get genuinely excited about.
The paper really nails a few key things. For one, it focuses on these clear, repeatable workflows, which is exactly how real engineering teams actually build and ship products. It also puts a big emphasis on auditability, especially for high-stakes stuff in finance. And my favorite part? It skips the buzzwords and gets down to brass tacks, showing how agents can take over the boring, tedious work like compliance checks or expense reports and just free up humans to do more important things.
And check this out. This is a perfect example. The underwriting assistant follows this super logical, predictable pattern: intake, retrieve, validate, act, and log. See? It's not some black box magic. It's just solid, understandable, automated workflow design.
Okay, but this is where we need to pump the brakes for a second. Because having a great idea and a shiny-looking tech stack is one thing, but it doesn't actually solve the fundamental problem, the one that keeps people up at night.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does a slick diagram on a slide really mean you can trust that agent when real money and real customers are on the line? Well, the answer, more often than not, is a hard no.
This leads us to this massive problem in the AI space, which I like to call benchmark theater. It's this whole practice of using evaluation metrics that look amazing in a spreadsheet, but tell you basically nothing about how an agent is going to behave, or more importantly, fail, out in the real world.
So here's why this is so dangerous. First, your offline test scores mean very little about real-world performance. Second, average performance metrics are a trap because they completely hide the tail risk. An agent that works 99% of the time sounds amazing until that 1% failure costs your company a fortune. And almost nobody's evaluation metrics are tied to the actual business cost of a screw-up, the cost to find it, fix it, and clean up the mess. Just let that number sink in for a second. 1%. In a system that's running thousands of times a day, that's not a tiny error. It's a constant fire hose of failures. And any single one of those could be catastrophic, completely wiping out all the value you got from the other 99%. Averages lie.
I mean, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's about measuring what's easy versus what actually matters. On the left, you've got the vanity stuff, offline scores, LLM judges. They look good on a chart, but they don't predict value. On the right, that's what counts. What's your actual task success rate? When it fails, how quickly does it fail safely? And what did it really cost you to fix the mistake? If you're not tracking this stuff, you're just flying blind.
So how do we fix this mess? We have to shift our entire mindset. Stop focusing just on the agent's tech stack and start deliberately building its trust stack. It's a framework, a set of 8 pillars designed to give you safety, reliability, and control from the very beginning.
All right, let's break down the first 4. Number 1, least privilege. Simple. Each agent gets its own ID and only has permission to do the absolute bare minimum it needs to do its job, nothing more. 2, spend and action limits. Put hard caps on budgets and API calls so a rogue agent can't run up a huge bill. 3, policy as code. Your most important rules need to be written in code, not just floating around in a prompt where they can get ignored. And 4, this one is non-negotiable, a human in the loop. You need a clear way to escalate to a person, and you better have a big red off switch.
And here are the last 4. 5, sandboxed execution, a safe playground where you can test the agent without it breaking anything in the real world. 6, provenance and audit. You need a detailed log of every single thing the agent does, so you can always trace back who did what and why. 7, an incident response plan. You need to know exactly what you're going to do before things go wrong. And finally, number 8, Live evaluation. Use smart techniques like canary releases and always tie any incident back to its real dollar impact.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually put it into practice? Let's take one of those use cases from the white paper and map out a real-world plan.
Here is your playbook. It's simple. First, pick one use case, just one. Let's say KYC processing. Don't try to boil the ocean. Next, run a tiny canary test on a small slice of live traffic with super strict budgets and a human on standby. Then you instrument the metrics that actually matter from that slide we saw earlier. How often does it just give up and ask for help? How good is it at knowing when it's right? And how fast does it fail safely? And before you even think about scaling, you must be able to replay and explain every single action it takes, period.
This is the entire philosophy right here. You don't just unleash an army of agents and hope for the best. You start with one. You put it in a safe container, you watch it like a hawk, and you measure everything. You build hard evidence that you can trust it. And only when that trust is truly earned do you slowly, carefully give it more responsibility. And really, that leaves us with this final thought. The goal isn't some chaotic army of autonomous agents running amok. The goal is to build a small, elite, highly trained unit that operates under strict rules of engagement, and one where you, the commander, can always say, stand down. Now that is how you build AI you can actually trust.